I know some of you aren't here, but holiday, whatever, lovely to have you all back. I don't know if you got to see online, but last week we started learning about the miracles that Jesus did when he was here on earth. And we learned last week, we were learning what is a miracle. And we started off by saying, well, what is a miracle not? A miracle is not something that can be explained in nature. There's nothing outside, nothing around that can help us to explain what a miracle is. And a miracle can't be explained in science. Even the most clever people, the top scientists in the whole world, they still can't explain what a miracle is. And we said also that a miracle is not just a trick. It wasn't a trick. A miracle is something impossible but true. And a miracle is something that Jesus did, and he could only do it through the power of God. So a miracle is something impossible but true.
Oh, hang on a minute, hang on.
And if you weren't here last week, you didn't meet our great Gonzo. So, what are you here for this morning again?
I can do something that you won't believe, something incredible.
Not impossible, is it?
Well, it's pretty impossible, I would say.
And you can do it.
And I can do it.
Now, you told us that last week. Now, last week, if you weren't here, the great Gonzo showed us all that he could stick a pin in a balloon and it didn't burst. He did. You watched it online. He did. But then he showed us all how to do it so we can amaze our friends, because really it was just a trick. You have to put a little bit of sellotape on the balloon, and you can explain it in science. It's all to do with the pressure, and I don't even understand it, but it works. But still, it was just a trick. So you're telling me you can do something else this week?
I can. You see this bottle? Look,
Yeah.
look, shoot. I can cover this with the hat, and I can drink that bottle without removing the hat, without touching the hat. I can drink that bottle.
No way.
Yeah,
no,
I can.
that is impossible.
I can drink that
Let me
bottle
just
without
check.
touching the hat.
Right, okay, it says it's a fridge chute. Looks like what I have here. Is this one?
Yeah.
So I guarantee you
That was
this is
Thursday.
ordinary fridge chute. There's no holes in the bottom. There's holes in that table. I'll tell you what to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to cover the table over.
Right, do you trust me?
I don't trust you at all. There we go. And you, if I said that there, right, this is just an ordinary fridge chute, and I said there, you're going to cover it, and you're going to drink that.
I'm going to drink that without touching the hat.
I'm going to hold the hat
Without
down
touching
so
the hat.
you don't cheat.
Right.
Do you think he's going to do it? Is he doing it? Sounds like he's doing it. It looks like he's doing it. There's no way. You didn't do that. Do you think he did?
Did I touch the hat?
Will we lift it and see? Do you think he's drunk it?
Yeah.
No! And he didn't touch the hat. He didn't touch the hat. He did what he said. He was able to drink it, but it was just a trick. So there's another trick that you can use to amaze your friends. Away you go. Right. So, getting back to our story today. So, after we heard about Jesus' very first miracle, when he was at a wedding and he changed the water into wine, after that time, Jesus went around preaching and teaching and doing miracles. And he healed lots of people. And people got to hear, people started to hear about the amazing things that Jesus was doing. And remember, what Jesus was doing wasn't a trick. There was no other way of explaining it. He could only do it because he was the Son of God and is the Son of God. And lots of people started to hear about the things that Jesus was doing, and many sick people came to Jesus to be healed. Now, I'm going to tell you two stories from the Bible today, and you have to remember these are true stories, okay? And these two stories are very similar, but different. Okay, so these were people who were healed. They were very, very sick. And there was no other way for them to be cured. And the first man that we're going to talk about was called a leper. That means he suffered from the disease of leprosy. And leprosy was an awful disease. It attacked the skin, and you had big sores. Someone who had leprosy had big sores all over their body. And it was on their hands and feet, and it got really bad. Their fingers and their toes would fall off. And no doctor in those days could help them. There was no cure for leprosy in those days. There was no medicine that they could take to make them better. And in fact, something else about leprosy, it was highly contagious. If you went near somebody that had leprosy, you might get leprosy too. And if you even touched somebody that had leprosy, you were probably, certainly, definitely going to get leprosy. So if someone took leprosy in those days, they had to move out of their house. They had to move away from all of their family and friends because they didn't want their friends to get this awful disease. So anyone who had leprosy went outside of the town, went outside of the village, and if there were a few people who had leprosy, they would live together away from everyone else so that no one else would catch this awful disease. And they used to carry a little bell with them, and if they saw someone coming nearby, they'd ring the bell so that those people would know those people ringing the bell, they have leprosy, I can't go near them. One day, one of these people, a man suffering from leprosy, came to Jesus. Now, he was desperate. He knew that no doctor, no medicine was going to be able to help him. He had heard of Jesus, and he thought, this is my only chance. And I'm sure he knew that he really shouldn't have gone to Jesus, because maybe Jesus would get leprosy. Well, that's what people would have thought. But he went anyway, and he knelt down before Jesus, and you know what? Jesus didn't chase him away. Jesus didn't say, you shouldn't be here, go away. No, the man with the leprosy knelt in front of Jesus, and he said, Jesus, if you are willing, you can heal me. And Jesus, like I said, he didn't touch it, he didn't push him away or send him away. Jesus reached out and touched him. Touched him. Very thing that people of the day would not have done. You wouldn't touch somebody with leprosy. But Jesus touched him. And he said, I am willing. Be healed. And immediately the man's skin returned to normal. He was completely healed. He was totally better. Wow. The other person that I want to tell you about is somebody quite different. He was a royal official. He was very important. He would have had a great big house. He did have servants. He would have had lots of friends. Everybody would have wanted to come to his house. He was very important. He was a royal official. Now, he wasn't sick, but his son was. In fact, the Bible tells us that his son was dying. So this man was desperate too. He had heard of Jesus, and he wanted to go and find Jesus and ask him to come to his house. You see, his son was so sick, he was on the point of dying. This man was desperate to find help for his son. He had plenty of money. I'm sure he had tried all the doctors. He had tried any medicine he could get hold of, and nothing was working. So he left his house to go and find Jesus. He didn't take his son with him. It was too far, and the boy was too ill. But the man, his dad, this royal official, went to find Jesus. And he was going to persuade Jesus to come back to his house, and hopefully then Jesus would heal his son. But when he came to Jesus, do you think Jesus did go back to his house? After all, everybody else wanted to go to his house. He had a lovely house, lots of friends and servants. Everybody surely wanted to go to his house. Think Jesus went? Actually, no, he didn't. He said, go, your son will live. Now, I don't know what the man thought at that time. He clearly believed, because he stopped trying to persuade Jesus to come to his house. Immediately he left and went on his journey back home. I don't know what was going through his mind. Did he firmly believe what Jesus said? Did he wonder, was it true? I'm not sure. Is it true? Maybe, I don't know. I'll go home and find out. Was he annoyed that Jesus didn't come with him? Or did he firmly believe? Jesus said, your son will live. I don't know what was going through his mind. But on his way back, he saw some people coming towards him. And it turned out it was his servants. And his servant said to him, your son is better. He's completely well. He's not sick at all. And he said to his servants, when did this happen? And they realized it was exactly the same time that Jesus said, go, your son will live. So Jesus healed that boy, even though he didn't go to his house, he didn't even see him, and yet he healed that boy. So you see, these two stories are very similar, but very different. They both had the same end result. Jesus healed both of them. Jesus healed the leper by touching him. When the society and people around thought that he shouldn't, Jesus still did. He touched him and healed him. And Jesus didn't go to the royal official's house, even though people around probably expected that he would. This important man asked Jesus to come to his house. Jesus said no, but he still was able to heal his son. Jesus did a miracle. Jesus did two miracles that we've been talking about today. Healing two different people. The same end result, but Jesus did it his way, not how the people around expected him to do. And you know, we can come to Jesus with any of our problems. If we're sick, we can come to Jesus as well, and we can ask him. Even though he might not be physically here to touch you, the story that I've told you today proves he doesn't need to be. Jesus has the power to heal you. Wherever you are, he is here with us. We know that in spirit. But he's not here as a person, we know that. But we can see it's all written in the Bible to help us. Jesus can still heal us today. And we all suffer from the worst disease ever. All of us. We all have sin in our lives, and that separates us from God. Like the lepers had to go live outside of town. No one wanted them near them. We are separated from God because of the sin in our lives. And Jesus is willing. Like he was willing to heal the leper, he's willing to heal us from that awful sin that's in our lives. We've talked about it many times in this church. If we come to him and ask him to forgive us our sins, he will forgive us. He is willing. He will do it. He's a miracle working God. Now we're going to sing. And I was trying to think, what song could we sing in kids' church? All about miracles. And the only song that kept going through my mind is a really, really old song, and I did mention it there. Some of you might have heard of it. It's a really good faith song. He's a miracle working God. Okay, so we're going to sing it today, and you'll learn it as we're doing it. Now, I thought because there's no actions, what you might like to do is play some instruments instead.
Oh,
so,
I must have been standing there.
Nobody else can do that, right? Okay, so Kira, I thought that you could play your mommy's tambourine. Okay? Erin, I thought you could play your dad's cajon. Okay? And let's for all of the rest here, later on we can swap over. Maybe next week we'll do the same song, and we'll get everybody in turn and playing all the things. So, who would like the tambourine? And you want the tambourine as well, okay? Who would like to play a triangle? Okay, there you go. You can play that one. What else have I got? Any takers got this one? No? What about that one? What about this one? Let's right. Okay, we're all done with this. And anybody who else know the song, sing. He's a miracle working God. He's a miracle working God. He's a wonder. He's a miracle. He's a miracle working God. He's a miracle working God. He's a miracle working God. He's a wonder. He's a miracle. He's a miracle working God. on.
I must say, that was quite chilly.
Yes, it was. Anybody else there? I left my spot. I think you're ready for that. Anybody else elaborate? Anybody else elaborate? We're next week. You all play something different next week. All right.